Cohabiting together, going on holiday together, and sleeping over before you're married. Are these all subject of scandal? And what does it mean to scandalize someone else in the Christian life? Hello, I am Delphine, your resident Catholic convert, revert, whatever you want to call it. I am chasing a life according to Christ. Today I want to talk about the medieval theology about scandal. Stick with me. So, in medieval theology, scandal was defined as the act of committing a sin in front of another, causing that person to sin because of the bad example provided. So, is this actually relevant today? I say yes. So let's look into how we might be committing the sin of scandal within our dating lives. And me being the word nerd that I am, I've obviously looked into the etymology of the word scandal, which comes from the Greek word skandalon, which means a trap or snare laid for an enemy. Because we're quite used to using the word scandal to describe tabloid stories, gossip, and celebrity woes, I suppose. So this just brings it back to seeing actually what it means and how we might be sinning in this way. And obviously we're going to look at the Bible and what the Bible has to say. So in Matthew 18:6, Jesus says, "Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened round his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." Yikes. And there's other Bible scriptures that really talk about how our behaviour can affect others. So in 1 Corinthians 15:33, Paul says, "Do not be deceived, bad company ruins good morals." And the problem is that when we as Christians are doing things that aren't actually virtuous or aren't really in line with our Christian values and faith, other people will look at us and think, oh, well, they're a good Christian and they're doing that, so I guess it's okay. And I know that you're probably going to say to me, well, when my boyfriend stays over, he stays in a separate room, or, we don't do anything, etc. I get that, and I really respect the people who have the self-control and the self-denial to be able to live chastely in those circumstances. But the problem is if people know that you're staying over at each other's houses or you are living together, they are probably going to assume that you guys are having sex before marriage, and that can cause other people to think that's okay. So really what we are called to do as Christians is to be good examples outwardly and inwardly. So in the Catholic Church, we have a catechism, which is basically kind of guidelines and rules and helps us to understand the Bible more. And in it, it defines scandal as an attitude or behaviour which leads another to do evil. And I read something really interesting about scandal, which says scandal can encourage an improper view of reality, to the point that a person can think a sinful life is virtuous. Spreading false messages about God, the church, or salvation is dangerous. And I completely agree with this because I struggled a lot with relativism in my 20s. I really followed this ideology of your truth and you do you and love is love and all these kind of false ideas that ignore objective truths and ignore God's natural law and order. So in that way, it's really troublesome when you do have Catholics, Christians who proclaim their faith but then live outwardly in a way that could make others think, oh, so they're Catholic and they're doing that, so I guess that's okay. So that's really what we're trying to avoid, and it is hard because obviously we are all fallen and we're going to make mistakes, but if we can try to consciously do actions that really can lead others to more virtuous lives too, that's the idea. We're very sociable creatures. God created us for community, so we're very impressionable by the people who are around us, whether that's our friends or family. And growing up, when you're a teenager or even in your adult life, you will be looking around to see the people that you respect and love and see how they're living. So now that we are respectable adults ourselves, it's really important that we can lead lives that others can look towards and normalize these kind of behaviors. So, dating chastely, not having sex before marriage, these are things that need to be normalized again, because our hypersexualized culture has really made us believe that we are all objects to be used, objects for pleasure, objects to be admired and idolized. And obviously we know that we should never idolize another person. No, we should not worship anyone or anything but God. So it becomes very problematic when you start objectifying people in that way, because we're not seeing each other as like the gifts that we are, the blessings that we are. So obviously I think it's really important that we are able to be good stewards in this world and showcase how God wants us to live. If you're enjoying this content, please check out the Salt YouTube channel, subscribe, like, comment, and have a watch of my video about why we shouldn't have sex before marriage. It's really interesting to understand that couples' choices are never made in isolation. It's always going to be from the examples that you've seen from others, from what's been normalized in your community, in your family, in your friendship circles, in your work life. So this is why we are called to be different, and we are called to make these choices according to God rather than what's in vogue, what's in fashion right now. I really like thinking about my words and actions as being either building blocks or stumbling blocks for others. Is this going to be an obstacle for someone getting closer to God, or is it going to help to build them up and encourage them? Because when we sin intentionally, that really is causing these stumbling blocks, and it's like you're grabbing them and you're just putting them in front of you and others. So really we just need to try our hardest every single day to choose the building blocks rather than the stumbling blocks. How many times can I say blocks? But there we go. So one of my favorite Catholic priests, Father Mike Schmitz, he has a video talking about to intentionally enter into a near occasion of sin is in itself a sin. What do I mean by near occasion of sin? It's when, for example, you have a boyfriend and you live alone and it's 10 p.m. and you've had a wonderful dinner and he's very chivalrously walked you home. And then you think, okay, well maybe he can come up and we can have a cup of tea, or I don't know who drinks tea at 10 p.m, but you know what I mean. Or a glass of wine, even worse. And we can just hang out and it'll be totally fine. The problem is, okay, at that point, it is late. It's dark outside, so that makes you want to get cozy anyway. If you're having wine, then you might be a bit intoxicated, your inhibitions may be lowered. You're alone together and you're putting yourself in this opportunity, almost this perfect opportunity to sin. Because no one's there to hold you accountable, no one's there to hold you responsible. You've had a wonderful date with this person and now you're alone, it's dark, there's a glass of wine in front of you, who knows what might happen. And the problem is that these near occasions of sin can so often lead us to sin. In this case, it's less about scandal, but more about putting yourself in this opportunity to sin. Even worse though, if people see you guys hanging out late at night, so it might be flatmates, it could be people in your block or neighbors, because they'll just assume and normalize this behavior, like here is an unmarried woman and a guy, going into a house at 10 o'clock. So it is really important to just think about the external way this looks and trying to bring back chaste dating, because that's what we need to make normal again. And look, I know that for convenience purposes, sometimes it makes sense to stay over or to have your boyfriend or girlfriend stay over at yours. But it just is really not a great idea, because you just don't know. The problem is seeing each other at night, seeing each other in your pajamas, brushing your teeth together. These are all very intimate things that can trick your mind and your heart and your body into thinking, okay, this is really an intimate relationship. And that form of intimacy is called only within marriage. I would say avoid these types of scenarios, or if you have to do them with absolute caution. Put in boundaries, so it might be like, okay, I'm gonna sleep in this room, I'm gonna try to not really come out until I'm fully dressed the next morning, so that there's no, passing in the hallway or seeing each other in the bathroom or seeing each other in your pajamas. So I think these things are really important to take into consideration. Scandal really means living your life in a way that other people think is moral. So even if you're not doing anything, it can be really problematic if people think, oh, well, okay, staying over is fine, or living together before marriage is fine. This person loves Jesus, so it must be okay for me to do it. Even if you're not actually doing anything, you don't know if these actions have caused someone else to think that's okay and they fell into sin. So that's the issue, is that we really just need to always act in a way as if someone's watching at all times, because someone is watching, right? The big guy. And yeah, because I think that's the most important thing. When talking about the near occasion of sin, I really like this proverb. So this is Proverbs 6, 27 to 28. Can a man take embers into his bosom and his garments not be burned? Or can a man walk on live coals and his feet not be scorched? I mean, if that isn't a great definition of a near occasion of sin, I don't know what is. It's really saying, like, we can't play by fire and expect to not be burnt. So we have to make conscious decisions to not put ourselves in any fiery situations where we could actually fall into sin. So in conclusion, scandal may be a medieval term, but it is very relevant for today. And what it really should be teaching all of us is to think about our actions, to think about how they're seen by others, how they may influence others. The problem is that we are all constantly in a circle of influence with our friends, our colleagues, our family. So if we're doing things like going on holiday with our partner and not making it very, very clear that we are staying in separate rooms or in a hotel or with family members, it's going to spark ideas in others that could cause them to sin, even if you're not sinning in the actions that you're doing. So we really just need to be considerate and intentional in all of our actions, especially when dating, so that we can be a beacon to others and show people how it's meant to be done, which is chastely, purely, and with just the best intentions at heart. Dating as if our best friend Jesus is constantly beside us and we want to make him proud, and we want to treat everyone as a person, as an individual, and never use them for our own validation, pleasure, or objectification. So I hope that's made sense, and I'd love to hear what you guys think of the sin of scandal. It sounds so dramatic. I think there's a really good sentiment here to realize that we can sin in ways that we don't even realize, and obviously we want to avoid that. So thank you for listening, and I hope this was fruitful for you. If you feel called to do so, please leave a comment, a like, or a dislike. You can do that, it's a free country. Yeah, because I love reading the comments and I often learn from you guys as well. All right, have a wonderful day. Bye.